Hello, everybody. I'm calling this September 15th, 2025 regular meeting of the Memphis RE6 School Board to order. The time is straight up 6 p.m. Seconds. Tiffany, can you please call roll?
Craig Benelli,
Here.
Victor Figueroa,
Yeah.
Tim Hunter,
Present.
Emily Hutchison Brown,
Here.
Rachel McNamara.
Here. Excellent. As we do not have a student seat yet filled, I am going to ask if Tiffany will lead us in the pledge this evening, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, everybody, for being here this evening, both present in person as well as anybody watching online. For those here in person, please turn off your cell phones during the meeting. And if you'd like to hold a sidebar conversation, I would ask that you please take that out into the hall. This is a reminder that our Board of Education is governed by our own Memphis School District B section policies, which can be found in our updated board handbooks and also on the school website. And I'd like to remind everybody that this is a meeting of the Board of Education in public rather than a meeting with the public. As a Board of Education, we have agreed to adhere to Robert's Rules of Order, and the board should notice that they are now inclusive in our agenda. This year it is a goal when moderating to promote fair, efficient, and respectful conversations ongoing. And in doing this, I ask that we are all mindful of Robert's rules. It is the moderator's job to hold the board as a whole accountable to the following of such or adherence of such as well. So I will ask that we are paying special attention to myself as moderator being responsible for the restatement of motions and placing said motions for a vote. We're also utilizing a brand new system, and so that is very helpful in utilizing our new system, which eventually will be available online as well. All members shall be recognized with equal opportunity for their voice to be heard in discussion and throughout the entirety of the meeting. And the results of each vote will be announced, and I will also be responsible for the articulation of any subsequent actions as needed or as dictated by the board as a whole or any official board vote. So it would be my job to direct our one employee, Superintendent Hazelton, to follow up on anything. All members, please raise hands, be recognized by myself prior to speaking during the normal course of the meeting. During this meeting, there is also a time for public participation and comments will be heard. And we will require anyone who wishes to speak to sign up. In-person commentary is limited to 3 minutes. And if needed, you can also refer to Colorado statute for anything else in regards to that. But we are pretty good about adhering to policy BEDH and allowing people to speak longer than 3 minutes if it's not a really long board meeting. That's to be decided. Okay, at this time, I'm asking the board, though, if we have any changes or additions to our current agenda as it has been presented. And if so, do you have a change?
Move to approve the agenda.
Okay, so we have a motion for the approval on the agenda, on this evening's agenda. Do we have a second? I'll second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. So we have a motion and a second in order to approve the agenda as written, and we will follow. Tiffany, please call the question.
Miss Emily Hutchison Brown.
Aye.
Miss Rachel McWhorter.
Aye.
Mr. Tim Hunter.
Aye.
Mr. Victor Figueroa.
Aye.
Mr. Craig Benelli.
Excellent. Motion carries 5-0. All right, we actually do have some public participation this evening. So with that, I would like to ask Jessica McIntyre. Sorry, I'm having a speech problem tonight. If Mrs. McIntyre, if you'd like to address the board, you can sit, you can stand, you can, whatever you're comfortable in doing, please.
Well, I stand, and this is
Thank
for the board and for the public.
Okay,
So my name is Jessica McIntyre. I'm a parent of Mega students, a teacher that taught in the Mega School District, and now an avid supporter and substitute for the district and its educators. I'm here to remind some and inform many that in the upcoming November election, we have the opportunity to vote for Make's teachers and staff to receive salary and wage increases by voting yes for 4A, which is a mill levy override to increase teacher pay. I was shocked to learn that in our current state and local school funding systems, this is one of the only ways we can get our local educators pay increases. Our district has the lowest paid teachers in Montezuma County, and as a parent and someone who has worked in the Mega School District, I really want our teachers to make more so that they can afford to stay, and I want our school to be able to hire qualified educators that when we need them. 4A dedicates funds that are legally bound for teachers and staff pay. They can't be used for anything else. And there is a committee that will be created to ensure transparency that the community members are invited to be a part of if you so wish. I'm continually blown away with the teachers and staff at the school that give my children the very best education that they can. The dedication of the staff is impressive, and I am grateful that they are here for my children and for our community with how our pay is today. I don't want to lose them to our neighboring districts that pay more. Cortez and Dolores just passed mill levy overrides to increase teacher pay, which puts our students in school at higher risk of keeping and recruiting quality educators. When we lose experienced staff, it is our students that lose and in turn our community. Even if you don't have kids or your children have graduated and moved on from Mangus School District, the quality of the education our district can provide plays a big role in what our community values and our community's reputation. I'm voting yes on 4A as an investment in our students and their future and our community. The teachers and staff feel valued and supported. Students benefit, classrooms are more consistent, relationships grow stronger, and learning improves. I hope the people listening will share the importance of voting yes on 4A with their family, friends, and neighbors, and show our educators and our youth that this community believes in them. That is all I wanted to say. I just wanted to say it publicly for people to hear. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your outspoken public voice. All right, moving on. We are going to ask Chrissy, you are up with our business manager report for the evening, please.
Oh, I'm already going.
You're
Okay.
already going.
So we finalized our financial audit for fiscal year 25. It was a clean audit, which is great. We're ending, the general fund is ending with about a $2.6 million reserve, which is awesome. Especially after all the capital improvements we did last year with that major spend that we did on the roofs, fixing the track, the field, buying 2 new used buses, all those big expenditures. So I feel like we're in a healthy state at that 2.6. Trying to think what other highlights we want to get out of that audit. All the funds are healthy. So food service did the best, I think, with 70. They're starting out this current year with like a $74,000 fund balance, so that's really great. Really, other than that, it was just a clean audit. I don't know. Does anybody else want to contribute anything to that?
Well, I think it's worth noting that the board spent the work session prior to this evening reviewing the audit in full with you as well as CPA.
Yep.
And so we had the opportunity to ask questions, and we were given the ability to have certain items pointed out. And did anybody have any commentary? Any board members? Craig, Rachel, Tim?
I would just give my appreciation to Chrissy and for the work that she's done to make this audit happen. She's consistently given us budgets that are doable and readable and understandable. And that's a hard thing to do with the school financial system, the way it's set up. It's not an easy task, and I greatly appreciate the work she puts in. And for Chris and his audits are infallible. They work
And timely.
in time.
You guys work fast.
We work good
hard
together.
to get it to us quickly, so we appreciate it.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I would second Tim's sentiments. I mean, again, Chrissy, really appreciate. I've been on the board 4 years, and 4 years, it's been a process that has, we've seen the work that you've put into it and the product that comes out of it, and we feel confident in all those 4 years that our budget is safe and sound. And so that's the main thing for the board. So thank you.
Of course, absolutely.
I would echo the same, but I also appreciate that the audit allows the full picture to be had, which at times also offers us the ability to ask questions, right?
Sure.
Like, where are there risks? Where could we potentially see pitfalls in the future? That is really what governance is about, is looking at the bigger picture. You all have the details so dialed in on the month to month, day to day. That with your expertise and Chris's, it really allows us to get a pretty good insight. Audrey, is there anything you would like to add?
No, just huge appreciation for Chrissy and Chris. I feel very lucky to be getting to have you by my side this year and being your last year. And so thank you for all the extra time that you're spending helping bring me on board with
Of
everything.
course.
Although we're dragging her back, just for the,
Oh, definitely.
yeah, the history, so, good
Definitely.
work, very good.
And so the audit will be on the website tomorrow under financial transparencies.
Good,
So if anybody wants to look into that, it'll be posted tomorrow.
excellent.
Right.
Yeah, and we're always happy to answer questions to the public. If they have questions about how the money is being spent.
Absolutely.
Love it.
And
Anything
the
else?
only other thing you're gonna see is the resolution at the, for another capital expenditure. For some things for the maintenance department. We had it budgeted, it's in there, so,
There's one line.
yep. Other than that, I really don't have a whole lot to give you, because we're just done with the
You've
audit.
been busy.
I'm so happy that we closed it out and we're done, moving on now, so,
Excellent.
yeah, that's it.
Okay. I'm gonna move forward to, the board. Normally, we will have a board report for student voice. And I'm gonna ask Rachel, there is a consent item later in the agenda, but since it's under consent, I'm gonna ask for Audrey and Rachel together to give us kind of just a brief update before we get to that consent agenda, which is, policy approval. If you guys want to give us a little update? Sure, Rachel?
Sure, so the main one is BC09. We have migrated this over from JJA 3. Basically because this is a board policy, because this is students to be on the board. The main thing that we talked about on that is that we were gonna have a review process, so in the middle of the first paragraph. And then we're not going to pick the exact seat date because things could change within the year, but that the term will conclude at the end of the calendar year. So that's it for BC09. And then JJA 3R. This is basically all of the what's expected of the student while they're on here. So everything we changed to student members, so that's clear throughout the whole thing. And then we did talk about having a committee will be composed of the superintendent, the teacher liaison, and a board member to review the complete applications. So that's gonna be the new application process. And that's gonna be starting this year. So, and then at the end starting on page 2 of that one, this is successful candidates will be recommended by the superintendent. And then they will be confirmed by a board vote. So again, those are the main changes to JJA 3R.
And I would just add the real meat of all this is the adding of the teacher liaison, so we can really make this a meaningful experience for our students, and not just our students who are the board members, but the students who see them as their representatives on the board. And so Will Custer is going to be that person. He's our high school social studies teacher. And we're looking at different formats for those students to get input. Not just from high school students, but throughout the community, and that they would provide a short report to the board every meeting. So we're gonna start reviewing some applications and then really working on how to build that up so that students see themselves in the board and in the operations of the school.
And are we hoping to seat a student possibly in October
I
or?
think so.
Okay.
We have some applications.
Excellent.
Good.
Any questions? Anybody? Comments? I think it's a really good thing that we're involving, a faculty member and kind of being able to roll it more into governance for the students. I'm hopeful that it'll help student council and some of those things at times are a challenge, so this could be really great time. Okay, I believe that Miss Sarah Rank is here to give us a report from the district accountability committees. Mrs. Rank.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to report some stuff from the DAC. We had our first meeting last Tuesday, September 8th, and ahead of time, Audrey and I met a couple of times to talk about some stuff. And so we had our first meeting, like I said, last Tuesday, and during that meeting, Audrey presented a brief update on the strategic plan. She ran through a very quick presentation as what she had presented the board earlier. And we really took from that the district goals that are now included for this year. And so we just really appreciated that general overview. We did have some new members to the DAC, some folks who had been there before, but not for several years. So then we talked about what the DAC is, why to have a DAC, and then how it's gonna operate. And so the why is the engaging with the community, with the school district, an opportunity for parents, community members to engage and provide some advisory role to the board and then also to the superintendent. We also reviewed some of the Colorado State statutes as to that require districts and schools to have accountability committees. And after that, we got into what the structure of the DAC is gonna look like this year. And in the years that I've been on the DAC, which have been, this will be my 4th year, previously, we had a 1-hour meeting once a month, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, where staff presented kind of where we were at in the standards on the objective, one of the objectives in the strategic plan. And then we would then make a recommendation to the board, which was always, we recommend you approve the plan present, like the standards, where we're at in the standards presented. So we're gonna try and make the district accountability committee a little more accountable, so that we're not just reviewing a report that the board's also gonna review and say, yes, we think you should accept the results. And so, I believe it was during a previous board meeting where it was discussed to have some subcommittees within the accountability committee, including financial accountability, administrative oversight and human resources accountability, wellness accountability, academic achievement, and outcome accountability. And rather than doing subcommittees, which myself and others think would be really challenging when we don't have consistent membership and participation in the DAC, that to create additional subcommittees would be a real challenge to do that. So rather than create subcommittees, we're gonna approach the DAC as having these accountability subjects as our primary subject for our meetings. So we're gonna meet on the Tuesday prior to regularly scheduled board meetings. And we're gonna meet from 5:30 to 7:30. And we're not gonna meet every month, and we've kind of got a general outline I'll go over here of what we're gonna look at, but we'll have a topic. And then that topic during the meeting, Audrey and or staff will present on the topic, the current state of the district, make a connection to the strategic plan, and then present to us any challenges they might be facing within that topic. And then the group will be able to discuss amongst ourselves, you know, what's been presented, and then any recommendations we would have. And those recommendations are gonna take 2 forms. They're either gonna be policy recommendations that we'll bring to the Board of Education, or they'll be, implementation, practice kind of recommendations that we would then, give to Audrey and the principals. And so the idea here that we're really working and engaging, and some of what's presented might be those strategic plan objective and standard reports, but it's gonna look a little different. And at the start of every meeting, we're gonna devote time to allow anyone in attendance to bring up topics that they think need to be discussed and that the district accountability committee should be looking into. And so I'm excited for that, and that we're gonna start with being open and then dive into a topic and then come out with some recommendations. And my hope is that it's gonna be more meaningful with regards to accountability. And so this was discussed at our first meeting and everyone was on board with what we've presented for this approach. And so that's how we're gonna move forward this year. So our next meeting is October 14th. And we're gonna be talking about administrative oversight and human resources. And we've got a couple of topics that folks are interested in hearing about that relate to that, including learning about the communications plan, how evaluations, staff evaluations will be implemented and used, avenues for staff to communicate concerns, more information on the new HR lead, the role of that. And then there's gonna be some discussion about the SRO position. And so that's what we're looking at for our meeting on October 14th. We're also gonna be providing food and looking at how we might be able to provide childcare during those meetings. Because those two things I know will help draw people, because those are the challenges we're all facing as families and individuals in the community, right? Is to make time for these important things while also taking care of our kids and feeding ourselves and all that. So we'll have food available, and then we'll see if we can't get childcare as an option. So then November 5th, we're gonna talk financial accountability, and with the vote on the mill levy override happening before that, we'll know the results. And so it is my intention to have the discussion during that November 5th district accountability committee meeting, what the committee for overseeing the mill levy override and ensuring that those funds are spent on teacher and staff salaries look like. So that is my hope, because I think that mill levy override is gonna pass. And so we'll have a discussion about that committee at that DAC meeting on November 5th.
Can I just stop you for a second? So that's gonna be the Wednesday then, instead of a Tuesday.
Yes, it
Okay.
will be that Wednesday.
So,
Yes,
Cool.
yes, Wednesday, November 5th. Then we'll be looking at wellness accountability in February. That'll be our February 17th meeting. And we'll talk about family engagement during that meeting. In March 10th is the tentative date there. We'll be looking at academic achievement and outcomes. And then April 14th, we're gonna revisit financial accountability, because that'll be the time that work will be moving forward on the budget for the following year. So hopefully there'll be some stuff that we can review, and if we need to pivot for any reason, we'll be able to do that. And then May 11th should be our last DAC meeting of the year, and we'll do kind of a year in review, see how it went, see how this new format went. And see what recommendations for changes or how the DAC should look moving forward will be.
Great.
That's what I have.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Sarah. I'll just add that it's very thorough. Well, I guess first questions or discussions for Sarah first before I.
Victor, you wanna start?
Oh, that sounds great, it really does. I'm curious to see how the year goes and what kind of process and feedback you might have at the end of the year, but all the topics that you hit on sound good. The only thing I would just throw out there you know, not that you should do it now, but just something in the future is the whole student achievement data, that account, you know, that I know, at least in my experience, Doc has always looked at in the past. And so I didn't hear that necessarily on your list
March
this time around, and maybe that's okay. But something maybe as you look forward next year.
That is the
March.
March meeting,
Yeah,
the end of the year, and I think that's something we'll talk about is if we wanna flip around with the April meeting, just knowing kind of the timing of data and things like that, but it is, that is the topic for that. That is one of the focus areas.
it's a student achievement.
Is, yeah,
data.
accountability, I think he said accountability, but so,
Okay,
student outcomes and accountability, I think is the name of the topic on the thing, so yeah,
excuse me.
it's in there. It would be an oversight to miss that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I think it's also helps to clarify that these, first of all, I will say, good work, very thorough. And I like the fact that you are saying, listen, we're not gonna go set up 4 committees, we're gonna just do this with one. And quite honestly, it's a great place to start because the 4 is down. After people realize that you're gonna have food and childcare and somebody's gonna bring cookies and then they get a voice and they get to hear, you might have a lot more people. So down the road, this was actually, these committees were created under policy that was passed by this board last June. So this is DAC, District Accountability Committee, meeting the needs of the 4 subcommittees, but as a whole, which is actually very, very smart to launch where this is gonna go. So I wanna just recap quickly. November 5th is your Financial Accountability Committee meeting, along with a revisit April 14th. Rachel, that is your
Make sure I got
seat,
that.
right? As the treasurer, the way this is written, the
Gotcha.
board treasurer, so as long as you continue in the treasurer seat, then you will need to meet that April 14th meeting as well, should you continue. There could be a change in November. The Administrative Oversight HR Committee, AOC, which Tiffany, you will be seated as our HR liaison. That on October 14th will need the raise of a hand for a board member to
I'll do that.
attend. Okay, well, you also already, as you already are on academic achievement, so would you like to do both?
Yes, I'll,
You wanna do both?
yes.
So October
Board members, you're
14th,
welcome.
I'll put you there.
Does
So what
anything-
time is it gonna be again?
They are, but we have to
5:30.
publicly notice, should there be more than one.
Yeah.
Therefore, I would rather have one board member present. So Victor, you're gonna take October 14th. The Wellness Accountability Committee, Craig is our Board of Education Secretary, and so that is February 17th, correct, Sarah?
So.
Yes.
So the wellness piece is February 17th, if you wanna mark your calendar. And again, this is per policy from last year. And then academic achievement and the outcome accountability, AAOC. That is going to be, Audion will sit on that particular committee on March 10th. And that again, will need to have the raise of a hand. I don't know, and Victor, are you can tentatively put that on your calendar, since
Yeah.
you would have to be elected as a board member to attend in March. Now, saying that though, community as DAC is absolutely welcome to attend these meetings. We need more community, more parents, more staff sitting in on these meetings. So the more the merrier. All I'm trying to do is crosswalk a board member at these very specific 4 pillars. Because again, I think coming off of last year, we were doing meetings every single month. And that was a lot, but there wasn't as much coming out of it. I think we've all recognized, starting with the addition of these particular subcommittees. But the subcommittee is not, we're not there yet. So you're just taking DAC and you're running it down that lane, trying to hyper focus on, well, we want to make sure we really pay attention to these things that have been lifted up as importance. And so good work in that, good work in the board aligning with it and welcoming the community. So again, it does tie to policy. So now with that I wanted to just clarify, there's a reason that this was all set up, and Mrs. Hazelton was, I think you worked with Sarah
No, I think you've got, I was
specifically.
No, yeah, we worked together on it, and I think it was really helpful to just here, we even, in the meeting, thank you to the people that were there, we had about six parents that were there. We
Great.
switched the order of some of those meetings based on what they were hoping to hear. Wanting to hear from in October. And then one element of the meeting, what we were gonna do is they were able to say, these are the things we wanna hear at the next meeting. So they were able to get that input, so that gives our team time to prepare and make sure we're bringing the right things forward. But again, just reiterating, the goal is to get a lot of input, have some great discussion, get a lot of input from our community, and that'll give us actionable things. Those of us that are the educators at the table on any given night will have actionable things to walk away with, and then the recommendations support. So I think
I love it.
I'm looking forward to it.
I just have one thing to add for the academic outcomes one. If you wanna throw in the curriculum part of that, since we do have a brand new math curriculum in the elementary school, it'd be really cool to see how that is progressing, I think, before we get all of our full end of the year stuff. And then also where we are on the curriculum review process for all the rest of everybody else.
It's
So that would be
delineated
cool.
there. It's provide input and recommendations on an advisory basis concerning development and use of assessment tools relating to academic achievement and curriculum. So as long as we're following what we
Yeah,
set
exactly.
forth, which it's already
I
there.
hope to give some of that information sooner.
It's all there. Craig, do you have any questions or comments or you ready for your meeting? I think it's a perfect, a perfect tie because of the Memphis United piece.
Yes.
I think it's a perfect tie because of your Memphis United piece as well. I mean, granted, it just worked out that way, but because you sit on the board for Memphis United and you're that liaison here, it kind of does tie to the wellness piece for the district. It's just a very nice seamless piece. Tim, anything?
It's just amazing the progress that's been made in DAC just in the last couple of years from. We revitalized, the DAC was non-existent 12 years ago and. I
Even
remember-
6 years ago, wasn't it?
Well, when we first started, it was myself and a teacher and we were pulling teeth to get somebody from the public to come to the DAC meetings.
And it's critical.
And it's essential, it's by law.
Correct.
So I appreciate all the work you put into it to make it get to where it is today. I really do.
Agreed.
And I'll just echo, we're still looking for some of those non-parent, non-staff community. members to come and engage with us at the DAC. And it's a good opportunity to really get your voice heard, because as you say, Emily, at the beginning of these meetings, this is a meeting like for the public, but not with the public.
Right.
And so the DAC meetings are with
With the
the
public.
public.
Correct.
And so that's a way to get your voice heard and to have some input.
I don't think that people really understand either, and I'd encourage anybody to go to the Colorado Department of Education. But if you look at how a school district is comprised with a board of with the community, the Board of Education, a superintendent. Under the Board of Education, the board has one employee, which is the superintendent. But in support of that board is your district accountability committee. Right? I know that other districts are having a lot of conversation around DAC that are in surrounding areas. And I would echo what you're saying, Mr. Hunter, in that over the last several years, our DAC has not just grown in numbers, it's grown in its sophistication or its efforts in actually meeting the demand, the legal requirement that the state asks us to do.
Which
And
it's matured.
it's matured a lot. So you're right. Where we are probably lacking would be members of DAC who don't have a student in the district, who are not an employee of the district, right? But maybe there are people that live on Grand. Maybe there are people that, have grandkids in the district. Maybe they're employees of the town. I don't know, but that would be extremely beneficial, knowing that the school district really kind of, whether you like it, know it, understand it, realize it, it really truly is a heartbeat of this town, the community. This district is right in the middle of it. So we would ask for participation. It's come a long way. We could still get further. This was a really great kind of further sophistication of DAC, I feel like, so. Keep going. I can't wait till the end of the year when you guys say, hey, this is what worked, this is what we're gonna improve upon. Right, this is how we're gonna change it up, or maybe you're gonna say, we have 40 members now and we're gonna have to have 4 committees, which would be great.
That would be great.
We're ready for bigger
Yeah.
numbers.
And we
I
are,
think we can handle it.
yes. Anything else to add? Anybody? Nope. All right, Mr. Figueroa, you are up with LRAC. It is now LRAC as well as
Yeah.
CASB.
So, I'm gonna start off with LRAC, which is the Legislation Resolution Advocacy Committee, and, last board meeting, we talked about the General Assembly meeting, on a special, assembly session. And so I just wanted to follow up, just a little bit about the results of that meeting. It was a 3-day meeting with all our legislators present to discuss how, we're going to cut, $750 million from the budget after our National Congress, passed the big beautiful bill. And so, the result of that was that, it was recommended by our Congress, state Congress, that we cut, health school meal programs and supplemental nutritional assistance program. It also said, that it wanted to cut some monies from higher education. As it relates to some of the monies that the state gives them. And then, they put a Colorado government hiring freeze. So they're not hiring anyone. And I just wanted to point out that they made a commitment not to cut K-12 at all, during that session. So those recommendations are, right now presently in a subcommittee that is reviewing those recommended cuts, and if they feel like there's questions, or if there's then they're gonna discuss those questions, and then they're going to move it forward to the governor for his final approval. So that process, I'm not sure where we're at this point, but that's where it's going. And so the other part of the General Assembly special session was around artificial intelligence. There was a bill that passed last year, it's Senate Bill 24-205, that focused on the focus was on artificial intelligence required, so it focused on developers that are using artificial intelligence with the public. And basically, the bill protects consumers from discrimination. And so they wanted to put this bill in place so that developers are really aware and clearly conscious of when you use artificial intelligence, that they're not looking at race, they're not looking at sexual orientation, they're not programming these things to look at certain aspects of the public and having it decide one way or the other around that. So they just put some things in place that was supposed to come into play, I believe, in October, meaning that it was supposed to be implemented in October, and that was gonna cost some money. And so they decided that they were gonna delay the implementation to 2026. So those are the things that were recommended after the General Assembly's special session meeting. And then this just this last weekend, I went to the Delegate Assembly, and the Delegate Assembly is our representatives from across the state, across the districts, 176 representatives that make up the Delegate Assembly, and we are there to approve. We're there to approve certain bills that we want our legislators to push forward and to approved through the Congress, through the Senate and through the delegate assemblies. And so there were 12 resolutions that were presented. And so everyone votes and it passes or it fails, or it's moved forward to a meeting in December called the business meeting. So I just wanted to review that there were 12 resolutions and they ranged on the topics of unfunded mandates, voucher programs, uninsured education equality, and rural education and rural districts. And then also the implementation of House Bill 25-1320, which is the School Finance Act. So they range in different ways. I just want to generally say 8 bills passed, which will then go to our legislators. 1 failed, 1 was removed, and there are 2 that will be reviewed again in the December annual convention. And that's where we'll vote again, whether that passes or not. So it's a pretty neat process, the delegate assembly. It's very much like our Congress. And ultimately we vote and decide which ones are the priorities for our school, for our state to focus on, and for our advocates to advocate for public monies. And so that's the complete report on legislative resolution advocacy committee. I'm going to move on to our CASB update. Our CASB update is Colorado School Association of School Boards. And so in that meeting, I just want to start off and say just provide some dates of upcoming events. December 11th through the 13th is the 85th annual convention. And that's the convention where we have our business meeting. That's also the convention where our delegates will get together again and vote on some legislation. On January 28th, we have a winter legislative convention. And February 12th, we have Student Day at the Capitol. And then I went to the Fall Delegate Assembly Conference. In that delegate assembly, part of that meeting is around voting on our legislation, but part of it is about getting some professional development. And there was a keynote speaker that provided some strategies on how to communicate confidently. So, as board members, we all come from different walks of life. And so they're trying to provide us information of how to run board meetings, how to look at accountability in your district, how to look at business issues or concerns. And so this particular key speaker provided strategies on how to communicate confidently. And an example, he discussed how to be open-minded and have growth mindsets while listening. And he provided examples of how to do that, and we practiced those examples within that presentation. I also just want to point out that CASB combined Legislative Resolution Committee with the LRC, which was the Federal Advocacy Committee, which is an abbreviation FACT, to create the Legislative Resolution Advocacy Committee, the LRAC. So now you're going to hear me say LVAC instead of LRC.
Another acronym.
Yeah. And so the last thing I wanted to share was that, and we shared this last meeting, but I put it there because it was a focus at this meeting. The Get It Done campaign, it empowers members at every level to listen, learn, and lead in an effort to champion fully funded and equitable public schools. So really what the state is wanting to do is have a state mandate or a state-run committee, and then to have local committees push through in their community and educate our community about funding our public schools equitably across the board. And they're trying to do that grassroots wise. And so my hope is that we can put this on the website. I have a link there And begin maybe to think about as a board, whether there's any strategies we have with our administration on seeing if we can get information out to our public about where we are in comparison to many other states as it relates to public funding and start our own little community committee that can start to educate our community on where we are. For example, and I know folks know this, I know it's a push, but we, for example, have fund our teachers the least amount of pay than any of the regional districts around us. So that's an example of the state not funding us well enough to fund our teachers. And now, as a result of that, we've got to go to our community and ask them to help fund our teachers. And so it's really an important committee. I'm hoping that we can figure out some ideas of how to get that started within our committee, within our community, and start to educate our community whenever possible about this. And so the Get It Done has a lot of brochures, has a lot of information that we can give to the public, we can easily print up and put out there. And so that is the end of CASB update. Is there any questions that anybody has in particular?
Good work. I appreciate the updates. You put a lot of time into this and it shows.
Thank you.
I just want to add, just a little update about the CASB presentation that we proposed.
Sure.
We did get officially selected.
Nice.
And our time slot will be December 12th from 9 to 10.
Excellent.
Can you talk just a little bit about what that presentation is going to entail? Like what's,
Well, what we signed up to present, let's see if I can pull this up.
Summer Hub, correct?
No, well, partially Summer Help. It's mostly about Make It United. Its impact that it's had.
The largest, I think, piece, while you pull that up, Craig, just so you can look at piece, because it's hard to do it under pressure, is with the tie to Make Us United, I believe that we are working on trying to find funding to ensure that the executive director of Make Us United can present along with the school district as to the outcomes historically that we have seen over the last, I think it was 2 years, that we were covering from where it started. And then 2 years worth of summer hub attendance from these kiddos that were engaged in reading and learning and social and emotional exercises that were well supported 100% by not just Make Us United, but the school district. So they had to work together to make summer hub happen. And I believe you're reporting on that process and those outcomes, perhaps?
Right. So what we came up with, or what I came up with in the middle of the night. But the title being Make Us United 2021 to present, surviving tragedy, rebuilding community and student successes in rural Southwest Colorado.
Excellent.
And then it said, through tragedy and adversity, the people of Make Us Colorado had to rebuild community and find renewal for the Make Us schools. Make Us United was born out of the struggles and triumphs to find feeling, togetherness, and student success. Make Us School District and Make Us United will present an update on their current successes and challenges in bringing together the community and district while building measurable student success.
Excellent. And are you going to tie Mr. Cordray into that presentation as
Yes,
well?
I'm drafting up an outline for the presentation, and I'll be working with Katie,
And Tom,
and then we'll loop Todd in from there.
I love that. Any questions about that or comments?
Looking forward to it.
4 years of history data. That's great. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
Okay,
I would just, thank you, Craig. It's gonna be really great to see that come together and you get a chance to share that. Just in adding about the Get It Done campaign, I want to add that it's fully supported by the Rural Schools, Colorado Rural Schools Alliance. It's bipartisan. And if you go onto that link, you can kind of click like where you are in terms of how you want to be engaged. If you just want to be getting information and then it's it's worth going on there and just signing up so you can start to get the information and, yeah.
And you were
Good
gonna
stuff.
add that to the news, you and Alice talked about adding it maybe to a newsletter or.
Yeah.
Or website or something, so
Yep,
maybe there'll be
Figuring out.
links also for the public to find on our, within our own communications, so.
yeah, once I
Excellent.
get a little bit more.
It's on the list.
Well, yeah, and I wanna make sure I'm understanding kind of how to plug in, so we can
Yeah.
really direct our people.
Okay. With that, we are up to the board report. Mrs. McWhorter, if you have anything from BOCES, please.
So BOCES right now is still kind of in a waiting game to see what CDE is gonna decide on for Montezuma Cortez School District with their application to reorganize. The Superintendent Advisory Committee, part of the BOCES, has formed two different work groups. One is the local assessment work group, which is how much each school has to pay. So that they're working on the financial side of it, and the other work group is the reorganization, and so they're looking on how that actually looks for both of these. That was kind of the main thing that we talked about in that. We did have 65 policies that we went over as a second read and got them all approved. Oh, it was fun, so we can do it, guys.
That's a lot.
We can do it. It was a lot. And then, yeah, basically it's just kind of a waiting game to see what CDE is gonna do before we can do too much. So,
Yeah, I would just add those two committees that, we split ourselves up on, the superintendents, the one that's, what's it called, the financial,
the local assessment,
the local assessment committee is not just formed to, in readiness for the potential split of the Cortez district, but also just looking at the overall fee, you know, from ground zero, the fee structure and the different ways, in the current way that it is organized, and if there might be alternative ways to do that. So that's made up of a group of superintendents from different size districts in our region. So it's twofold, I guess. It's not just about it would be ready if there's a reorganization financially, but then also looking at what's the most equitable way for school districts to fund their BOCES membership. Because right now there's just kind of some flat fees, no matter what size you are, which has different impacts for our big districts and our really small districts, and so. So that's a group of us getting together to work on that. We haven't met yet. Oh, that's so bad.
Okay. Mrs. Hazelton, you can just continue since your superintendent report is up next.
All right, I think you have the report. I'm month 2 of the superintendent report, trying a different format. And I love feedback in terms of what you're hoping to see in these reports, each month. But this month I organized it under our 3 goals, because I thought that would be a link to the strategic plan, so you could see what's happening and what's underway. I do want to first highlight some upcoming events. Picture Day is tomorrow. So if you would like to come in, board members, and have your picture taken, please do. And we're luring our staff in for pictures with coffee and donuts so that they come in and get their pictures taken as well. And it's also parent teacher conferences this week, so also a big week for our teachers and families. So we encourage all families, if they haven't already made that in the elementary level, made an appointment to come into the conference to do that. And secondary parents, you'll be getting some information. I think it's more of a drop-in approach, but you'll be getting more information, I think, tomorrow in an email on how you can come and learn more about your kids. So we hope you do that. And next week is homecoming week. There's information on the website, and secondary families on the Blue Jay Express. You'll have information about how to engage. Hopefully it'll be a fun week for everyone. And just updates around I'm just gonna go through our goal and hit a couple highlights. I'm not gonna read everything here, but I just want to make sure you can hear what's happening in and around the district. In terms of our goal around a healthy and connected, joyful community, we really are focused this year on starting every Friday staff day that we have together as a full district in community with one another in some way. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we had some choice where teachers, was wellness focused, where teachers could go for a walk, they could play Battleship in the gym, which was very popular, or they could go and do some mindful chill. But that was really well received as a way to connect with staff and also just get some energy out before starting a really big day of working together. So that's going on for community building for our staff. Other community-based focus on our community is underway now at all levels. We have our student-centered collaborative teaming, whether you call it the RTI teams or the CST, the Child Study Team at our secondary schools. We're really getting focused in on individual students and those groups of teachers, support staff, deans, student advocates are coming together to make sure that our students who need extra specialized plans, whether they be short-term or long-term, that those are being made and everybody has a voice and making sure that the whole child is considered. So those are really underway. We've continued our restorative practices training for our new staff and also for our wellness team and new leaders, going deeper and developing plans for our ongoing school-wide implementation. Our MTSS district leadership team is now underway, focused on a CDE framework, doing a self-assessment of those. And this actually connects to our conversation about how we're going to assess how we're doing and our strategic plan as using an external tool to identify where are we strong in terms of our family engagement practices and where can we grow. A good example of maybe something on that tool would be, do we provide certain newsletters with like a bilingual flip on the, computer? Like, is it accessibility for families in terms of time and opportunities? I think the DAC saying, okay, we're going to try to have childcare and food. So that would be an example that would really increase family engagement. Starting to meet regularly with Katie McClure and kind of talking about Mancos United. That partnership is so important. And so we're gonna dig into reflecting about Summer Hub, specifically around our facilities and how do we make sure that that's really strong and supported for our facilities and our kids. A couple things coming up. I just want to highlight one thing coming up on that list is that at the end of the month, we are having a student safety and discipline retreat with myself, the deans, our principals, and the folks that are really involved in that work to really take a big picture look at our strengths and our gaps in alignment from policy down to practice, individual student practice, and making sure that's in alignment with our work around restorative practices and student safety. So that's happening at the end of the month to make sure that we have a really solid year and we're in alignment for kids. In our second goal area around engaging learning, that sharing, developing practices and implement strategies for rigorous student-centered learning. We talked a little bit about this at the work session, is really, this has been my time to really orient myself to our district performance, getting some of our performance data from the state for those that we do participate in, and then also reviewing our spring performance data and some of our fall data, student data. So I did include an attachment there that goes deeper into that if you're curious to look by school level, and then also some of the early action items that each school is identifying based on that data. Those will get built into the school-based strategic plan in the next month so that those will be more refined. But a good example of what that came up was in my last week's Mancos Matters, where it just was for families to really see the overview of where we're showing some strengths in our growth and literacy last year. Our growth scores were really solid, and opportunity in some of our areas around math, just slightly behind the curve in terms of growth. But it pairs nicely with our new curriculum in elementary as well. Couple other things there. So connected to that, just want to highlight some of our professional development this week was paired with our performance overviewing. It's been a while since our teachers had training in how to utilize the NWEA data for instructional planning, student specific and also classroom based tier 1. And so they had a 2-hour session on Friday afternoon. All of our teachers did that have data around literacy and mathematics. Then we also polled a separate group of our secondary teachers, CTE, PE, all of the other teachers that are still supporting our students' literacy growth. And they also looked at our data and then connected that to our standards of how do we make sure that we're increasing literacy across the curriculum. And so they were really excited to look at that and think about how do they increase vocabulary practices, research, reading and different things like that within there. So coming through. I just wanted to highlight our early childhood staff. They continue to amaze me with all their high engagement and learning to do the best, bring the best for our early learners. They spent last Saturday attending Wonder and Wisdom, supporting relationships through joyful connections. I think I would have liked to hang out at that conference. Seems lovely. And Kate and Tira, two of our teachers and our director, presented a session there on Art Without Boundaries, focusing on the process. So they seeing our teacher leaders out in the community, sharing their work with others. And coming up around learning is what I just noted is that finishing up the details within our strategic plan that you'll see coming to life, but then those will be translated into school-based plans where they can anchor in 2 or 3 really solid goals. Not solid gold, solid goals, one for community, one or 2 around those learning pieces. So that'll be something you'll be seeing coming soon. And all kinds of work underway just on cohesive systems and structures. I wanted to highlight one element of the communication plan development. We're just making incremental shifts in that and making sure that we have more efficient, streamlined, and purposeful communications across the district. You'll see an example there of that we've expanded the staff newsletter, the monthly staff newsletter, to include operational updates, highlights, shout outs, and ongoing links for teachers. That's a campus newsletter that Audion has put together that was more focused just primarily on teaching and learning, which we're not losing that factor, but bringing in all the rest of it so we can all be on the same page around everything once a month. Staff evaluation process and timeline, I included links to that to see that is one of the key goals this year, is that we have an aligned, consistent, and transparent process. So those things are underway across the school, and our principals are already starting to meet with teachers to meet those time stamps in alignment with the state. And one connection to that is in what happens next is that myself, James Hughes, and Mary and Audie and I are going to be a part of a CDE cohort around educator effectiveness and working and learning together so we can develop that. The amazing Tiffany Aspermonte over here has, I just want to highlight her work with new hires. We had a lunch recently where our new hires, we just had glowing reviews of their first 6 weeks in the district around the support they've received, not only from Tiffany, but from their teaching and staff colleagues. And there's just been a lot put in place, and just a example of having a full HR focused person in the district. I don't know what I would do without her. We talked a little bit about some of the facilities work, but I think a little bit, it just kind of goes to our work with our community and our neighbors. We talked about the ditch transfer already. I have met with our neighbors to talk about the parking lot lighting concerns. We're continuing to look at things, how we might be able to reduce glare into neighbors' home, but we also know we have to maintain students and staff safety. This might take us a while because of prices, but we are just looking at the different ways we can use technology or some changes to be able to do both. We want to try to do both. It might take us some time. Our election work is well underway. We had timely submission of all of our ballot certifications and our documentation in for the Mill Levy override and school board election. We have 4 candidates for 2 seats, as you know, and we are working on solidifying the details for a candidate forum on the 29th or 30th, I think is what we're hoping to have solidified in the next 2 to 3 days, because those are coming up. And we've updated the website and will continue to update the website with easy access to our mill levy FAQ. So that's just information for anybody that wants to learn more about what the mill levy is. And next week, I'm gonna spend 2 days in Parachute with the school finance project to learn more about school finance so that this full audit is even clearer for me. Yeah, so there you go. There's the rundown. Any questions or feedback on the format?
What is the status of our SRO negotiations with the town?
Right, so the status right now is that they have an open position in terms of that they have to first fill or not first, but they have to fill the position in terms of the town seat, and that Justin and I are meeting next week, I think, and we'll be checking in soon to talk about it. And right now it's on holding, nothing, they don't have any candidates for us, and we don't have any personnel, anything like that. The DAC did ask to review the MOU again, and so I pulled that out and have shared that. It's a public document.
Probably
with
because
them.
there's a named school district person to be included in the
Yes.
process
Yeah.
of interviewing.
And so
That was a pain point before, so I'm sure that's what they're asking. Are we gonna follow the MOU?
Yeah, and we certainly are gonna follow the MOU in the
That's
process. So
beautiful.
right now, we are basically we'll be connecting soon again, but right now there's nobody in that seat. and-
When I talked to Justin last week, they have no applicants. yet.
That's right, that's exactly.
Have they put it out?
They have put it out.
Yes, they put it out and he's done so much, yeah.
But in the meantime, I just wanna be clear,
Yeah,
I've
oh,
seen
yes.
plenty of vehicles that they're
Yeah,
still
they're
in
checking
presence.
They're checking in throughout the week. They're on speed dial if we have any needs or concerns.
Are
And
they still doing like walks through, or are they kind of?
I think that they've had some presence on campus, but I think that's also something that we're really aware of in terms of making sure that it's not felt to kids that don't know them or anything like that.
Right,
So
right.
so it's more of just having kind of a presence in our community out front, different times of the day.
That's perfect. That's
Thank you.
good. Thank you. Any other questions for Mrs. Hayes? No, we're good.
Keep the format with the goals to help organize things or like it.
Whatever's easiest for you.
I like it.
I mean,
Great.
we're to be meeting with you too, so we can ask you individual
Yeah,
questions.
it's helpful for me to synthesize it, and I think it's good for our community. Who wants to know kind of what's happening and it's on the way.
Okay, we are going to move on towards our objective report 3C. We have gone through this objective report pretty in depth during our work session. And I would ask that Mrs. Hazelton, maybe just for the purpose of the public, that you give us kind of a summary expectation or a summary presentation. I also want to just publicly state that as DAC is somewhat shifting with their inclusion of committees with specific duties and responsibilities. As you all know, the strategic plan is somewhat shifting this year. It's going to be kind of a work in process as we move through the year. And there will be an acceptance of the plan by the board, but we are no longer this year until we kind of, and I don't know that we'll ever do it, but we're not gonna vote on it to rate it, to determine where, we're not going to grade each objective with our passing of judgment. We are going to receive the objectives, dive into the information that's being presented to us so that we understand it and choose acceptance of the objective rather than grade the objective. And so I want to make sure that we're clear on that moving forward. And then at the end of the year, you are already starting to talk about work that you and your team will do to go back to move forward, right? To, did that work? Did that define the ability to publicly state or present to the board and the public where the district stood in regard to that particular objective, right? Whatever that might be. Is that
Yeah, I think I was doing some research, talking with other superintendents just around the process of how we bring goals and elements of the strategic plan forward to the board. And what the goal of that is and what we take away from it. So I don't think we're not changing the idea behind we bring forth the work that's underway, the evidence that's showing how it's progressing, the gaps, the needs, the next steps. But that the number of folks that I talked to, it's not an approval process, it's an acceptance process. And you can give feedback, and obviously it connects to my work as a superintendent. But in terms of it feeling like, especially to the staff that's presenting it, that they're being judged by the board, that it's more of here it is. So probably a little bit semantics and a little bit just kind of maintaining that governance. I think as far as the 3C presentation, this is the goal around providing students with non-traditional courses based on student input and teacher strengths. So this hits all elements of our high school program. And so Adian and Janet presented at the work session about that. This connects directly to the engaging learning goal this year. That deepening, that's rigorous student-centered learning. And I think this is actually a hallmark of our programs, that our high school students in such a small area have so many choices to pursue things of their interest. And so they were able to share out on that information. They did add to the slides some information about that. While we're not taking, I don't think any of our students currently are taking advantage of it, we still also do have the alternate option for students to take coursework at Fort Lewis College alongside some of the other programs in here. And that was their, I think it's their overall presentation around internships, the Friday Academy, the CTE programs, the concurrent enrollment, and a lot of the opportunities that are happening throughout the year for our high school students. And lots of students are engaged. And really one thing that we're looking for and have identified is that 3rd-point measurement tool, so that we can really evaluate our programs based on best practices from CTE and pathways consortiums, I guess, or, research-based people out in the field. And so we're looking to use that and continuing to anchor in the funding that Janet has been working on bringing to us to make sure that those programs are sustainable and growing.
For a small school district, we are very mighty when it comes to non-traditional coursework. And I say that not just based in project-based learning as an idea or ideal, I should say, not ideal. We step outside of the bounds when it comes to things that are not normal curriculum, testing, textbook type, what we think of with schools. And so I would just publicly highlight how much impact we're having, or and even those indicators, how strong they are for our non-traditional coursework and in our secondary students, as well as our primary. But we're doing a lot, and there's a lot of evidence towards that. That would be my main comment that I would encourage the public to look at this presentation. There's a lot of good stuff being done and has been being done for years, building up to just what we're continuing to build upon. And we have to shift at times because the things shift on us, right? But it's really good work. That would be my one comment, just to start us off. I know we've all done this a couple weeks ago, but do we have anything that you want to highlight or point out, Craig, or add, or any other further questions?
No, it's just, I think I really enjoyed this objective in that it really highlights the direction the school district is on. If being a struggling district, it becoming something that's, it's a model for other school districts to follow and to see. And I think it's just looking at it, it makes me try to dig deeper to see what I can use in this to put into the presentation for CASB, because I think there's a lot of that's hand in hand with it. So
Tremendous stuff. Rachel,
I also like that they included the middle school and all of their different class options that they can do as well, and how it starts with sixth grade. And it moves into our pathways, and so I think that we have a really cool, well, just a big, broad staff, and how much they can bring and what different classes they want to teach, and not just the normal ones. I think that's really awesome that our staff wants to do some of these extra things.
there's also a lot of after-school programming,
Yeah, there's so much.
Based around
presentation
arts.
this summer.
right? Arts and music and, I mean, clubs and just so many activities, not just a sport per se, but that's there too. Anything you noticed that you want to add?
Just really, I mean, the reporting for this is only getting better. I mean, so, and the thing about not grading it is, I think it's a very important factor in what we're doing. In that it's not up to us to grade how this is going on. We need to be aware of everything that's going on and let our professionals deal with that and tell us how it's happening, but to review the data and make sure it's going in a direction that we as a board want it to be. I'm anxious to see how this relates into the upcoming portfolios as well.
Yeah.
And how we're gonna tie that all together in our portfolio graduate scenarios.
Great. Mr. Figueroa?
Yeah, I think that, again, this is a great report for the public to take a look at, and hopefully they'll be able to see it online or in some place where we can identify it for the public. But I guess the two things I would really talk about is just the variety of options our students have. We have students that come from all walks of life, and our school district really does provide an amazing amount of options for them, from everything from post-secondary options to CTE options in the field that they might be interested in. And I can tell you personally, I've seen our district sit down with individual families and craft academic plans specifically for them. And I can tell you, in my 30 years experience in education, I haven't seen districts be able to do that, and our district does. And it's pretty amazing. I have to honestly tell you, I just think our district they're just problem solvers, and they really work hard to help kids and families. And so I just want to compliment that and emphasize that and ask the public to take a look at this, because it's good, strong information about the variety of programs that we are provided, that we're providing to students. The other thing is just the feedback from students. We didn't talk about that, but there's a whole section here about trying to talk to our students and find out what they're interested in, what they want to see, and what they feel is working and maybe not working for them. And again, all of that is important because they are our consumers. They're the ones that are doing the programs, and we've got to understand, is this connecting with them? Is it working? And if it's not, why? And what do we do? So this presentation has all that information in it.
It does, do you have anything else that you'd like?
So I just wanted to add, because I would appreciate Rachel pointing out that it has bits in there about the middle school, but for those parents. This starts at preschool and in kindergarten around our student-centered project-based approach, and that student, and with the portrait of the graduate and students getting a chance to practice and learn how to be leaders within their own learning journey, and also being able to start finding connections between content areas so that they're developing those skills as a young child in our elementary program, so that when these things come to them in sixth grade and middle and high school, that they know how to access it, how to ask questions, how to advocate, talk to the stranger about, interview a professional, that because they've been doing that through their whole experience. So it is a K-12, even though that this one really focuses on the middle and high school opportunities.
A couple little statistics that also stood out that I think are worth mentioning. students have obtained approximately 259 industry certificates from 2023 to 2025. 259 industry certificates. What's our enrollment number for our middle and secondary? I mean, by the time you'd get a certificate, you'd be in secondary, but it's. I mean, PK through 12, we're less than 500 kids.
Yeah, I just said that.
PK through 12, we're less than 500 kids. In our secondary, or middle and secondary, the number, hopefully. It's not 259, I'll tell you that, I don't believe. So 259 industry certificates being, awarded. And then the other thing that I think is critical for people to understand is that I say we're small but mighty, and we are, and this is really work that is being, what is it?
132.
132
In the high school.
in the high school, okay. 132, wow, crazy. This work is being done by the staff, however, it actually depends on funding. And it's critical to have a specific type of funding. And there is a lot of grant money that is supporting this, but it's also money that we are supplementing through our budgeting process. And that funding is not easy to come by. We have a need now for, we really need, we have 2 teachers right now that need to receive or would like to receive some CTE credentialing. And we'd like to make sure that we give opportunities for some of our teachers to get some professional development opportunity, and those needs are not yet addressed in our budgets. Those are still outstanding. And so that is something that I think should be highlighted as the district needing support. Because you're not necessarily gonna get the amount of funding needed to do something as different as this might be throughout the state as part of what the Department of Education will allow. So we have to be very creative in being able to offer this type of opportunity. And it's because of that amazing staff, but it's also because we prioritize the funding. And we're constantly looking for more funding. So lot of really good stuff, not super easy, check the box. This is really hard work and has come to fruition over the course of many years, so.
Madam President, I move that we accept the presentation in 3C.
I second that.
So I have a first and a second, and a motion to accept the strategic plan objective report 3C. Is there any further discussion? No. Tiffany, will you please call to question?
Miss Emily Hutchinson Brown,
Aye.
Miss Rachel McWhorter,
Aye.
Mr. Tim Hunter,
Hi,
Mr. Victor Figueroa,
I,
Mr. Craig Fennella.
All right, carries 5-0. Really great work. All right, well, that moves us on to, we are going to, just for purposes of being able to read and carry this through rather than pulling things out of consent agenda, we are going to discuss this resolution or handle a capital reserve resolution separately. Mr. Hunter, you always are so great at these.
I move that we adopt the following resolution for the Colorado statute 2245-103. The Board of Education authorized a fiscal year 26 capital reserve expenditure of $9,339.94 to Hilliard Flagstaff for the purchase of equipment to support the custodial maintenance department. A Trident wet dry vacuum for $1,121.77. A Trident CC17 XPC restroom cleaning and disinfectant system for $2,678.91. A Trident CC17 recovery unit used for restroom cleaning and disinfecting for $964.76. And 5 Trident upright vacuums valued at $4,574.50.
Do we have a second?
I second that.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. Is there any discussion in regard to the resolution? Any questions?
Just to trust that, Chrissy said this was already budgeted, so.
Yes. Yep. So it was budgeted. The resolution pulls the money out of cap reserve.
Yep. So
For the proper spend.
And so it'll end up doing that now that you've approved it.
Any other questions? All right, so, in an effort to support the, Capital reserve expenditure of $9,339.94. Tiffany, will you please call to question?
Miss Emily Hutchinson Brown,
Aye.
Miss Rachel McWhorter,
Aye.
Mr. Tim Hunter,
Hi,
Mr. Victor Figueroa,
I,
Mr. Craig Fenelon.
All right, motion carries 5-0. That being said, brings us to our consent agenda. If anybody would like to.
I move that we approve all of our consent agenda items A through E.
Second.
I have a first and a second to approve consent agenda items 10A through 10E. Any discussion necessary? All right, Tiffany, will you please call the question?
Miss Emily Hutchinson Brown,
Aye.
Miss Rachel McWhorter,
Aye.
Mr. Tim Hunter,
Hi,
Mr. Victor Figueroa,
I,
Mr. Craig Fenelon.
Excellent. Consent carries 5-0. And that brings us towards the end of our meeting. Upcoming calendar obligations, probably worthwhile mentioning again, school photos are tomorrow. Board members, please remember that it gives you an ID, and that ID will get you into school events, and they like to have a picture, and they like to put your picture on the website and do other things. And if we don't have a picture, I think they use past year's pictures just in case.
last year's was good.
You have another school picture to take. And parent teacher conferences being this week, there will be early release on Thursday. We appreciate all the extra that goes into what the staff does for keeping students and parents engaged. I want to remind everyone, the October 14th District Accountability Committee meeting will be focused largely on administrative oversight, HR accountability. And Victor, you are going to take that on from a board seat, but the public is welcome to attend. It typically, does it also happen here in this boardroom still? You guys didn't change the
Still until we get those
Okay.
big numbers.
Good. All right, so, but we haven't changed the location. It still happens here. There will be childcare,
Look at
we are hoping, as well as food. Isn't it amazing? Like, we got board food and now look, DAC food, and there's donuts for, coffee and donuts for photos for staff. This is, good things are happening. Our next Board of Education meeting will be on October 20th, and some of those highlights will be looking at strategic plan 3B. Also, we'll be going over pupil count as well. And we have an upcoming Board of Election or Board of Education election candidate forum, TBD, and I'm assuming you guys will announce.
Yeah.
One of 2 dates at the end of
29th and
September.
30th, Yep.
And then
Public.
I'm sure that you'll recap, or someone will recap in October on that. Those are the most critical dates that I am aware of. Any other dates that anybody wants to add to or remind? Nope, good, all right. Future agenda items, I'm sorry, I kind of went on those at the same time. And then that brings us to our meeting debrief, which Mrs. McWhorter, that is in your court this month, if you can lead us through.
Sure. You guys have this, we've been doing it for a while. Do we learn anything new tonight? Were you surprised by anything or unprepared for anything? And is there anything that we need to communicate? Anything that you were able to be communicated or understood on all topics?
So that's the first 3 questions.
Yes.
Anything new tonight? I learned a lot.
I like the DAC's new format.
Mhm,
I mean, that was new and I think it's gonna be great.
mhm.
It's a nice way to present information and to also hear different reports,
Specifically, like finite to a certain concern,
but
right? And I learned that you're going to feed and give childcare, and I think that the encouragement for attendance is like really strongly valued, because without volunteers, we wouldn't get through. Craig, anything?
Just that glad to see that the student board member process is moving along, and that we have a faculty advisor that's gonna be. That's real cool.
We should probably give him a shout out. Did you give him like by name?
Well, yeah,
Mr. Custer?
yeah, Mr. Custer.
Mr. Custer is amazing,
Mhm.
very well loved, is great. Does he teach government?
Yes.
So Is it government?
Him and Ms. Schwartz.
Okay.
They teach a section of government.
Okay, perfect. Fitting.
Most of it.
All right.
Cool, and we are all able to communicate and be understood on topics. Did the board cross into operations anytime? And were there any decisions that are made by the board that needs to be communicated to the public?
I don't think we crossed into operations at any point.
I think we did pretty good. Anybody different?
I think for public, definitely get the get it done thing out there somewhere would be great. And then I think 3C, I know it was linked to the agendas that was out there, but with the audit and then put 3C out, I think those would be great.
Okay.
Cool. Any follow-up needed by a board member, including written communication? Thank yous. Do we hear anything that requires any new policy, revision of policy, or review of policy and follow-up?
Does anybody want to send Chris a thank you? It might be great coming from our board treasurer.
Okay.
On behalf of the board would be, I know he's here a lot. I mean, you guys both.
Because he did get it done early this year.
He did, yeah.
Made an effort to make that happen.
Mhm.
It's a big deal.
Mhm.
It's nice to be done with it.
Very much so.
I do think that we will revisit some policy work that is kind of sitting in the background. We're waiting a bit to do some of the innovative status work as well. We just need to get some feet, I think, under us before we really dive in. So there is policy coming, and I think we'll have policy on the next. Probably next month we'll have for sure more policy. This month we did student board seat, so. Our goal is that we are looking at some kind of policy, whatever is needed. Critically becomes needed or rise, like we need to be doing something. Which if we can do that, that'd be success. Does anybody have anything else though, other than?
Madam President, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? I have a second. Tiffany called the question.
Miss Emily Hutchinson Brown.
Aye.
Miss Rachel McWhorter.
Aye.
Mr. Tim Hunter. Mr. Victor Figueroa.
Aye.
Mr. Cliff Benelli.
Motion carries 5-0. It is 7:31 PM and we are adjourned.